Hello and welcome to the Amiga Art School online. I'm so sorry we're not able to meet in person, but hopefully after we've done this for 6 weeks, we'll be able to review the situation and we might have a better idea of what might be possible in the future. In the meantime, we have Chris Wood, who's going to be making a similar presentation along with Jackie Mayer and hopefully Sadie Tyranny. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this and for your patience, and I'm sure we're going to make this work and you're going to get some attractive work out of it. So you will hopefully have got my email with the brief, and also you have the art materials, and today it's all very basic. We're just going to look at using the pencil, and you can either work in your sketchbook or on separate pieces of paper if you prefer. So a pencil, very simple tool, one of the most useful items in the artist's toolkit really, and it's full of possibilities, and just according to how you might pick it up, all these different positions, it will affect the way you draw, and also the amount of weight you put on the line, and obviously the sort of marks you choose to make. So the purpose of this exercise is just to make you think about how you can make marks and how you can vary those marks and make them expressive, maybe a little bit tighter, a little bit looser. And don't get too worried about making your drawing very realistic. I think the problem all artists have is how real to make the drawing, you know, how realistic should we make our study. And I think, especially to begin with, you shouldn't let that become too much of a worry for you. In fact, if you think about some of the most popular artists in art history, Picasso, Matisse, Mondrian, they actually didn't draw particularly realistic studies. There might be some reference to life, of course, but very often the drawings or the paintings were from a form of imagination, a creation of their own world, if you like. And the lines that they made were very attractive and expressive. And that's what people really like about those particular artists' work. It wasn't the fact that they were particularly representational. So do try not to get too bothered about representation. We will be looking at that later in the series, perspective, scale and so forth. But for the time being, let's just concentrate on creating an attractive, beautiful, expressive line. Okay, so if we pick up a pencil and just hold it in the way you might normally write your name or something, and then just try drawing a straight line, or as straight as you can manage, down the side of the page in the sort of natural weight that you would normally push on a biro or a pencil. But as you start to come out on the second time, push a bit harder. You know, really try to make the line quite dark. And then as you come down, maybe make it a lot lighter than you might do normally. And then you could go dark, light, dark, light again. Try that several times, go up and down. And then the other thing you might try is picking up the pencil from the side. So you're going to create a broader line and a softer line than perhaps you might get if you were using it in the conventional way. But again, you can vary the weight of that line so it can become really quite dark and free, and again a broad stroke down there, and maybe make it a bit lighter as you come down. The next one to try is to pick up the pencil like that, so it's on its very tip, and you'll get a much crisper, narrower line. But again, you can vary the weight, make it a little bit darker by pushing on the pencil a bit harder, and then make it a lot lighter as you come down. The other thing I'd like you to try is to divide your page up into 6 boxes. I've actually done this is the same size as your sketchbook, so it's A4. And then within each of the boxes, you can try making almost patterns and vary the lines. So for instance here, we start with quite dark marks using that biro method of drawing, if you like, becoming lighter and then darker as you comes out the other side. So you almost get the feeling of the edges of the box coming towards you and the centre disappearing. And then you can do the same here with arcs or straight lines in another direction. And also, maybe try some more less restrained marks as well. Anyway, I'm going to put these out on the email so you'll be able to see them a bit closer. But just to give you an idea of what I mean closer up, let me just give an example here. So let's say we go very dark on the outside, so you're really pushing on the pencil as hard as you can, and then maybe make it a little bit lighter as you come towards the centre, and then very light here, and then gradually getting a bit darker with the line as you come out again, so that by the time you reach the edge, it's really quite heavy, as heavy as you can make it. And do you see what I mean? It's all about creating an optical illusion. So the edge of the square appears to be coming forward, and the centre of the box seems to be disappearing. And the same with doing some arcs. You might start with, say, a light or medium tone. Use the wrist to do a lot of your control here, because that's going to help keep the arc fairly even. So you're just sort of rotating the wrist, and as you get towards the centre, you could really push on the pencil, make it very dark, and then as you come out of the centre, lessen the amount of pressure you put on it, and so by the time it reaches the corner, it's very much lighter and starts to disappear. And again, hopefully that appears to be coming towards you. And another thing you might try is using, again, the 3 different methods of holding the pencil, but making similar marks. So, for instance, if you hold it in the conventional way and make lots of dots and dashes, use the side of the pencil, same again, but you will get different marks. And here, hold the pencil much more upright, again, dots and dashes. And here, you might do some more circular, rounded lines, and again with the side of the pencil, and then more upright marks, but again, rounded shapes. And I'm sure you can think of lots of different other variations of doing this as well. Again, I'll put this up on the email for you to be able to see properly. Okay, after spending some time doing those particular exercises, let's start looking at things that you could draw that are recognisable. So I've selected some leaves that you could probably find in your garden or around the house if you're not able to get out, and we're just going to draw some simple outlines of them. So again, thinking about varying the line, think about where the light is coming from, and the lightest side will therefore be nearest your light source. So I'm going to make the line relatively light on that side and a little bit darker on the other side. So try to get the sort of general character of the leaf without making it too detailed. Obviously you might put in a central stem and maybe a few of the arterial veins as well. So you could do that across the page. You could do all of the leaves. Again, like I say, varying the lines, so you're going to get one edge a bit darker than the other. And here's another selection of different objects you might find around the house which might make good subjects to draw. Okay, so in your art box you'll find there's a pen holder and a nib, and you can just put the nib in the end, and I've got some brown ink, but I think you might have black, doesn't really make a difference, and just put enough ink on to the end of the nib so it covers about half of it, and then you can use it in much the same way as you have done with the pencil. So, you know, maybe start with some regular straight lines, then you could try really pushing on the nib so you get a quite heavy line, but you can also gradually reduce the pressure and make the line a bit lighter. The other thing you might try is turning the pen on its back so you get a very narrow line, a bit like when we were using the pencil in a very upright position. And then you can try different patterns and marks. So again, you know, maybe something like a little geometric shape or wavy marks, or going in the same direction. You know, you could even put together a series of boxes in the same way as we did with the pencil and try doing similar things. And you can also take lines going in the other direction, so you start to create what's called cross-hatching, which is a way of creating texture and tone. But for the purpose of this exercise, we're just going to concentrate on line in the same way as we were with the pencil. So let's for instance take another leaf, and the nice thing about a leaf is you can actually more or less take the measurements directly from it because it's next to you. So we've got the top and we've got the bottom here. Run a line down the side. I'm going to make it a little bit darker because the light is coming from my right. So just like that. And then a lighter line on this side where the light is coming from. And I might even turn the pen on its back just to get a more contrasting, a narrow line coming down here. And put in a central vein. Give it a little bit of weight. And one or two of the arterial veins as well. And like I say, you could try this with any other subjects as well. And by all means, if you want to maybe use some crayon or pastel fine liners as well, you know, see what you've got around the house. You might want to try different materials for your drawing. Okay, so I hope this video's been useful. I've not made a video before, as you have probably realised by now, but it's been a really interesting process. And if you watch it in conjunction with the email brief that I've sent to you, then hopefully it will all come together. And you know, just see both the video and the email brief as a starting point, and obviously you can adapt and take things further if you want to. But I'd love it if you were to put a lot of emphasis into those exercises and you know, adapt them and add to them and see them as almost being an art in themselves. And likewise with the drawings of the objects, again, you know, you could probably think of other subjects you might like to draw. And if you feel as though you could perhaps do something a little bit more ambitious, you know, maybe more three-dimensional subjects, you know, maybe a collection of vases or even chairs or something that you've got in the house, those might be good to do as well. And similarly, you know, you don't have to just use pencil and pen and ink, but you might have other material, crayons and so forth you could use as well. So obviously the more time, the more practice you put into anything, particularly art, the more you'll get out of it. So have fun, try and do as much as you can at this time. And the next week, Chris Wood is planning to send you a presentation as well, along with a brief, and look forward to seeing what you've done. Okay, bye.